Let's be honest, most mechanics out there are good people doing honest work. But just like in any business, there are some that take advantage of drivers who don't know better. And when you don't know how your car works, it's easy to get talked into expensive repairs you don't actually need. That's why today we're going to break down the most common mechanic scams that everyone falls for, and most importantly, how to avoid them. You don't need to be a car expert to protect yourself. Just knowing these tricks can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So let's dive in and make sure you never get fooled at the shop again. Number 1, the "you need a new air filter" scam. One of the most common scams mechanics pull is telling you your air filter is dirty and needs to be replaced right now. Here's the thing, air filters do get dirty and they should be replaced about every 15 to 30,000 miles, depending on your driving conditions. But shady mechanics use this as an easy upsell, sometimes charging you 3 to 4 times what a filter actually costs, and pushing a replacement way before it's needed. What makes this worse is when they don't even show you the filter. A trustworthy mechanic will physically show you the filter so you can decide. If they say it's dirty but refuse to show you, big red flag. And here's something most people don't know. Replacing an air filter is often a 5-minute job you can do yourself. Open your glove box, unclip the housing, and swap the air filter. No tools required on many cars. And good quality air filters from auto stores usually cost $15 to $30, not the $70 some shops will charge. So if you hear your air filter's dirty during an oil change, ask to see it. And if you're feeling confident, do it yourself and save a bunch of cash. Number 2, the "you need a transmission flush" trick. Here's another popular scam, the dreaded transmission flush. Now, let's be clear, transmission maintenance is important. But not all cars need a flush, and certainly not as often as some mechanics claim. A lot of shops push transmission flushes at every oil change, claiming it's preventive maintenance, when in reality, many manufacturers don't recommend flushes at all. Instead, they recommend a simple drain and fill of transmission fluid every 40 to 60,000 miles. Flushing can sometimes force debris through the system, especially on high-mileage cars, causing more harm than good. And here's where it gets sneaky. Some shops charge $300 to $500 for a flush, when a proper fluid change should cost half that or less. Plus, if your car has a sealed transmission, it may not even be serviceable the way they're suggesting. So, how do you protect yourself? Check your owner's manual before agreeing to anything. If your car's manual doesn't call for a flush, don't let them scare you into it. A good mechanic will always follow the manufacturer's guidelines, and if they don't, walk away and find someone who does. Number 3, the brake pads and rotors need replacing upsell. Brakes are essential, no question, but a lot of mechanics take advantage of that fear by claiming you need new pads and rotors when you actually don't. Here's how it works. You go in for something simple like an oil change or tire rotation, and they come back saying, "Your brakes are shot. You need pads and rotors replaced immediately." And sometimes they'll quote you $700 or more for a job that might not even be necessary. Now, brake pads do wear out, and so do rotors. But rotors don't always need to be replaced when pads do. In many cases, rotors can be resurfaced to get rid of minor grooves. Also, brake pads usually last between 30,000 and 70,000 miles, depending on driving habits. If you're nowhere near that mileage and haven't noticed squeaking or grinding, you should question that advice. A good mechanic will measure rotor thickness and pad life, and show you what they see, and explain it clearly. If they're pushing a full replacement without showing you anything, huge red flag. So next time someone says you need new brakes, ask to see the wear and get a second opinion. You might save hundreds. Number 4, the engine flush push. Ever been told you need an engine flush to clear out all the sludge and keep your engine running smooth? Sounds serious, right? But here's the truth. Most modern engines don't need an engine flush, especially if you're regularly changing your oil like you should. An engine flush is when a shop pours chemicals into your engine oil to clean it, then drains it out. But here's the thing, if you've been maintaining your car properly, that flush is unnecessary and could even be harmful. Those chemicals can loosen debris that then gets stuck in oil passages, causing real damage. This scam works because people worry about engine longevity. But in reality, if you're using high-quality oil and changing it on schedule, your engine is already clean enough. Plus, many shops charge $100 or more for a flush on top of your oil change. If a mechanic tries to sell you an engine flush, ask if it's recommended in your owner's manual, because in 99% of cases, it isn't. And if it's not in the manual, you can safely say, "No thanks," and save that money. Number 5, the lifetime coolant myth. Ever heard a mechanic say, "Your coolant is lifetime, so you don't have to worry about it"? Sounds great, but here's the catch. There's no such thing as truly lifetime coolant, and believing that can ruin your engine over time. Coolant, or antifreeze, breaks down over the years, losing its ability to prevent corrosion, overheating, and freezing. Even so-called long-life coolants usually last 5 years or around 100,000 miles, depending on the car. After that, it gets contaminated and stops doing its job properly. Some shady mechanics will tell you it's lifetime just to avoid doing the service or to push it off until you need costly repairs later, like blown head gaskets or radiator failure. What's worse, some shops sell you a coolant service that's nothing more than topping off the fluid, not actually replacing it. That means you're still running on old degraded coolant, and you paid for nothing. So here's the deal. Check your owner's manual for coolant intervals, and when in doubt, ask for a full coolant replacement, not just a top-off. It's one of those services that protects your engine for the long haul. Number 6, the suspension and steering scare tactics. Another classic scam is when a mechanic tells you your suspension or steering components are dangerously worn out and need immediate replacement. Now, yes, worn suspension parts can be a real issue, but a lot of shops exaggerate this to scare you into spending big money. They'll say, "Your ball joints are shot," or "You need all new tie rods and control arms," without showing you any proof. And these repairs aren't cheap. Replacing a full set of suspension components could easily run you $1,500 or more, so you better be sure it's necessary. Here's the thing, many of these parts wear slowly over time, and you'll usually notice symptoms like weird noises, uneven tire wear, or steering looseness. If your car drives smoothly with no issues, and suddenly a shop says you need thousands in repairs, get a second opinion. Also, ask them to show you the worn parts. A good mechanic will take you to the car and show you exactly what's wrong. If they refuse, walk away. So remember, suspension and steering issues should be fixed when real, but don't let fear tactics drain your wallet for no reason. Number 7, the "you need new tires now" push. Tires are crucial for safety, but many mechanics push tire replacements way too early, especially when they see a customer who doesn't know how to check tread depth. Here's how it works. You go in for something unrelated, oil change, brakes, or an inspection, and suddenly they say, "Your tires are bald, you need new ones today," sometimes quoting $800 or more for a set. But if you check them yourself, you might find plenty of tread left. Here's the secret. Most tires have built-in tread wear indicators, tiny bars that run between the treads. When the tread is flush with these bars, it's time to replace them. Until then, you're still good. Also, you can use a quarter or penny test. If you can see all of Washington's or Lincoln's head, it's getting close. And don't forget, shops make huge profits on tire sales, so they have an incentive to sell them early. Also, ask for exact tread measurements. Anything above 3/32 is usually still safe. So next time they say you need new tires, check them yourself and don't get rushed into spending big money. Number 8, the headlight restoration overcharge. Foggy headlights are a pain, and yes, they do need to be cleaned eventually for better visibility. But here's where some shops take advantage. They'll tell you your headlights are dangerously foggy, then charge you $150 or more to restore them, when in reality, you can do it yourself for less than $20. Most foggy headlights just have oxidized plastic, and there are cheap kits at any auto store that come with all you need: sandpaper, polish, and sealant. You don't need a professional to get good results. Some mechanics will even restore headlights by just rubbing some polish on them, which looks good for a day, but comes back cloudy a week or so later. Proper headlight restoration takes a bit of work, and if you're paying big bucks, make sure they're actually sanding and sealing them, not just a quick wipe. If your headlights are foggy, try a kit first. Many people are shocked how good they can look with just 30 minutes of effort. Save the big bill. This is an easy DIY win for drivers. Number 9, the check engine light equals huge repair, lie. One of the oldest tricks in the book is when a mechanic sees the check engine light and instantly says, "This will be an expensive repair." But here's the truth. Most check engine lights are triggered by small issues, like a loose gas cap, a faulty sensor, or even bad spark plugs. Yeah, sometimes it can be serious, but often it's a $20 fix, not $2,000. The problem is, some dishonest shops jump to the worst-case scenario to scare you into agreeing to big work you might not even need. Here's how to protect yourself. Buy a cheap OBD2 scanner. You can buy them for $30 online. These scanners plug right into your car and read the check engine codes, giving you a better idea of what's actually wrong before you hand over your keys. Also, remember, AutoZone and other parts stores will scan your car for free. So if a mechanic tells you the problem is massive and costly, get a second opinion or scan it yourself first. The check engine light doesn't always mean disaster. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise without real proof. Number 10, the cabin filter needs changing, trap. Here's a favorite upsell at oil change places and quick service shops. Your cabin air filter is filthy. We need to replace it today. Now, don't get me wrong, cabin filters are important, but they don't need changing nearly as often as they say. Most cabin filters should be replaced every 15,000 to 30,000 miles, depending on where you drive. But some mechanics will push a new one every time you visit, and they'll charge $50 to $100 for a part that costs $15 at any auto store. And here's what makes this scam sneaky. Cabin filters are incredibly easy to replace yourself. In most cars, you just open the glove box, pop out a couple of clips, and swap the filter in seconds. No tools, no sweat. If a shop says yours is dirty, ask to see it. If it has a few leaves or some dust, that's normal. Unless it's totally clogged, you're probably fine for now. So next time they say your cabin filter's shot, say no thanks, grab one from the store and do it yourself, and save a bunch of money. Number 11, the alignment needed scam. Alignment is important, but some shops push it when you don't need it, just because they know most people don't understand how alignment works. Here's the deal. If you haven't hit a curb, pothole, or been in an accident, your alignment is probably fine. Shops love to say, your alignment is off, we need to fix it today, especially when you're already there for something else. And they'll often charge $100 to $200 for it. But unless you're noticing clear signs like your car pulling to one side, uneven tire wear, or a crooked steering wheel, you likely don't need an alignment. And even if you do, you deserve to see a printout showing exactly how it's off. Not just take their word for it. A good shop will show you the alignment specs before and after if they do the work. If they refuse to show you or explain what's wrong, that's a red flag. So don't let someone rush you into an unnecessary alignment. Know the signs, ask for proof, and only pay when it's truly needed. Number 12, the battery replacement rush. Ever gone in for an oil change and suddenly heard, your battery is weak, you need a new one now? This is a classic upsell, and while batteries do wear out, many mechanics jump the gun on this one. First, car batteries typically last 3 to 5 years, depending on weather and usage. Just because a tester says it's weak doesn't mean it's dead or about to fail. Some shops use this to sell a battery for $200 plus, when yours might still have plenty of life left. Here's the real test. Does your car struggle to start? Are your lights dim? If not, and you've had no issues, get a second opinion. Also, you can get a free battery test at many parts stores like AutoZone or Advance Auto. No need to take the shop's word for it. If you do need a battery, compare prices before buying. You'll often find better deals elsewhere, And sometimes a simple cleaning of the terminals can fix a weak battery issue. Bottom line, don't get rushed into a battery you don't need. Always check it out first. Number 13, the flushing all your fluids upsell. Ever had a mechanic suggest flushing every fluid in your car during a routine visit? They'll say, you need a brake fluid flush, a power steering flush, a coolant flush, and maybe even a differential fluid flush, all at once. Sounds like they're keeping your car in top shape, right? Not exactly. Here's the truth. Not every fluid needs to be flushed as often as they claim, and some of these fluids last 100,000 miles or more, depending on the car. For example, brake fluid usually lasts 3 to 5 years, and differential fluid often doesn't need touching until 50,000 to 100,000 miles, sometimes longer. What's worse, some shops flush fluids by just draining and topping off, not actually cleaning out the system, but still charging you $100 to $200 per fluid. The best way to avoid this? Check your owner's manual and stick to those intervals. Manufacturers are very clear about when these fluids should be changed. If a mechanic is pushing all of them at once without a real reason, you're probably being upsold. So next time they hit you with the everything needs flushing line, ask for proof and then check your manual. You might save yourself a huge bill for things you don't even need. Number 14, the OEM parts only lie. You may have heard a mechanic say, you have to use OEM parts, nothing else will work. Now, while OEM or original equipment manufacturer parts are great, they're not always necessary, and insisting on them can massively inflate your repair bill. Here's the truth. Many aftermarket parts are made by the same companies that make OEM parts, just without the car brand's logo stamped on them. For example, Bosch, Denso, and Aisin are famous for making both OEM and high-quality aftermarket parts. But some shops will push OEM only, charging double or even triple, just because they know customers are scared of cheap parts. And sure, some cheap no-name parts should be avoided, but reputable aftermarket brands are often just as good and sometimes even better than OEM. For things like filters, brake pads, spark plugs, and sensors, there are trusted aftermarket options that save you big money without sacrificing quality. So if a shop insists on OEM only, ask them why and do a quick check online. You might find a part just as good for half the price, and a trustworthy mechanic won't have a problem installing quality aftermarket parts. Don't let fear of bad parts drain your wallet. Knowledge is power when it comes to repairs. Now that you know the tricks, you can protect your wallet and make smarter decisions when you visit the shop. Remember, not all mechanics are out to get you. Most are honest and do great work. But when someone tries to push unnecessary repairs or scare you into spending money, now you'll know better. If you found this helpful, drop a comment and let me know if you've ever been hit with one of these scams, or share your own tips to help others avoid getting ripped off. And if you want more advice on car care, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.